Good afternoon. My name is Colleen Young, and I am the Print Marketing Manager here at Stahl's ID Direct. I'd like to welcome you to Marketing Your Business in 2012. Hopefully you will enjoy this webinar. Very casual. Please feel free to ask any question that you wish. We have somebody here answering your questions. We're going to run through today's agenda and get the party started. So today, this is what we're going to focus on. We are going to talk about determining your marketing message. We're going to talk briefly about print marketing. We're going to touch on radio and TV marketing. We're going to talk about some options with respect to web marketing. And then there's one final thought that I want to give you, probably the most important thing that I can tell you about your marketing plan for your future. So let's kick it off by talking about your marketing message. Before you can market any product, you have to market your business. And the most important thing you can do is create awareness of your company. So you need to take a few moments and really decide, who are you? One important thing that comes to mind is, what's your point of difference? Are you a family-owned company? Are you large? Are you small? How long have you been in business? Because self-examination of your company is extremely important, because without self-knowledge you can't market yourself. It's true of any marketing concept. If you're marketing a product or you're marketing a service, you can't market those products, those services, without knowing them inside and out and how each one works. So if you just take a few moments and list the information, seeing it on paper, it really helps you define your market niche. And good marketing capitalizes on that niche and your strengths, and that quickly will turn into sales and profits. Take a good hard look at not only who you are, but what you sell. Are you really selling the products that are in demand for your customers? Are you really selling the right mix of products? Are you selling too many? Are you selling too few? Have you kept things on the shelf too long? What is the true market demand for your inventory? You always talk about cleaning out your closet, and do you keep some products on the shelves because one customer orders it? And if it's only one customer ordering that product, is it really worth carrying that inventory? Or is that something that you can change and change up your marketing message on what you're selling? The other thing that we want to talk about is your point of difference. What actually separates you from the pack? I mean, if we're talking about t-shirts, everybody sells t-shirts, but what specifically about t-shirts can you tell customers that you sell that makes you different? What can you do that nobody else has? Back in my marketing past, I used to work for an industrial equipment company. And they were real small, family-owned, had older equipment. Their rental rates for the equipment were extremely high. They weren't really pricing competitively with their competition in the market. But the one thing that they had was outstanding customer service. And that's what their marketing message was. All we've got is customer service. Yeah, you can find a better rate. Yeah, you can find newer equipment. But nobody is going to service that equipment like we will. So that's what you take a hard look at when you're looking at marketing your business. What is actually making you different? And even if you feel like it might not be the biggest strength, if it's a point of difference, that gives the customer some options. Well, I know if I go to this guy, I'm going to get the best price. But if I go to this guy, price isn't bad, and you know what? I really like the customer service that he provides. So that's when you're looking and determining that marketing message, you got to think strongly about who you are, what you're selling, does it make sense with what you're selling, and what makes you different from the rest. So once you get that message determined, and once you really are set on that message, the strongest thing that I can tell you is the KISS concept. And the KISS concept in marketing was developed years and years and years and years ago. And KISS stands for Keep It Simple, Stupid. Because what you want to do is say exactly what you mean and say it simply. So in other words, a good example is if you've decided that, one of the things you do really well in your business is you give fast turnaround on your orders. Somebody can place an order, at 9 o'clock this morning, and you've already got the order out the door by 5 o'clock. You can capitalize on fast, friendly turnaround t-shirt orders. So that statement, friendly fast turnaround on t-shirt orders, there's no question in my mind when I approach you as a customer that, okay, I know that they sell t-shirts, I know that I'm going to get good service, and I know I'm going to get that good service quickly. So again, you keep it as simple as you can, be as concise as you can when you state that marketing message. And the next thing that you really got to hit home is you got to be consistent with that message. Too many companies nowadays are trying to capitalize on the flavor of the month. And what they'll do is they'll say, oh, okay, this month we specialize in customer service. Oh, wait, that's not the trend anymore? Okay, you know, we have the best price on the latest products. And if you don't stay consistent in your message, you're starting to create a non-consistency with your customer base, and they're going to see you as not quite as dependable if that message keeps changing and changing and changing. You know, we always see those companies out there that have a sale every other week, and every time you turn on the TV, oh, that company's having a sale again. Oh, there they are, they're having a sale again. And although that's a consistent message, it brands them in a certain way that, well, if you're having a sale every week, shouldn't your prices just be lowered? So again, although you need to be consistent, you have to have a good, solid, consistent message, one that makes you reputable and really tells the customer who you are. And then the last thing on this slide that I want to talk about is once you keep it simple, once you're consistent, say that message, repeat that message, repeat it again, and repeat it again. Because it takes 7 to 12 marketing touches to get through to one audience member. So with everything that we're bombarded with today, and think about it, if you just walk outside your door and you go down for a cup of coffee at a Starbucks, how many marketing messages are you really seeing? And does it really make an impression on you? And it really doesn't. Sometimes you're completely oblivious to some of the things you see. And, you know, I always go back to, if you see an accident happen, did you get the license plate number of that truck? And most people, when they're asked that question, they can't tell you, well, gee, I know I saw an accident, but I couldn't tell you if the car was blue or green, and I have no idea about the license plates. And the same thing is true of advertising and marketing. If you throw so many messages at somebody, everything gets jumbled up. So it's the consistency of your message. It is the repetitive nature of your message that really hammers home. Get your name in every ad. Make sure they see the same logo in the same place on every ad. And all of that is saying that message over and over and over again. So we've touched on developing the message and what really to take a look at. So next is how do you get your message out there? You got this great message, and now what do you do with it? Just there's some general marketing terms that people are going to use when they approach you. You know, everybody gets these calls. You know, companies get the calls all the time about, oh, hey, you want to advertise here? Oh, hey, I've got this great publication to advertise here. And there's some words that they throw around fairly loosely, and it's key to, when you place an ad, knowing these terms. And one of those terms is reach. And what reach is the number of people you touch with your marketing message, or the number of people that are exposed to your message. So you want to make sure that when you think about that, how many people are you reaching with your message? And of course, the cost is going to go up when the reach is higher of any publication, TV, online, your prices go up. But you really got to think about it as casting a net, and how far do you really want to cast that net to catch the fish. Then the other term that they're going to use in relationship to reach is frequency. And frequency is the number of times you touch each person with your message. And in a world of unlimited resources, you would obviously maximize both reach and frequency. However, most of us have budgets, and most of us do not have unlimited resources. So we have to sacrifice one or the other. You either sacrifice your reach or your frequency. And, you know, it's always great for a small business to really hammer home frequency. Don't cast such a wide net. And that's kind of hard to do, because you want to get in as many customers as possible, and you really want to, you know, get business rolling quickly. And unfortunately, marketing takes time. Good marketing comes over time, and it comes with a good, solid plan. So going back to what we've said earlier, the point you want to hammer home is that consistent message, repeating it over and over and over again. So take a smaller chunk of the market and just hammer home the frequency of your message. One of the things that you want to do is pick your battles and be strategic about it. You know, we always talk in marketing about, you know, a Scud missile approach versus an all-out warfare. Take a look at what your competition is doing. And if your competition dominates the radio waves, go for online advertising. If your competition is huge online, if you can't bring up one website without seeing an online banner from your competition, take a hard look at print advertising. Try to go opposite of what your competition is doing. If they've got a strong foothold in that market, for example, plumbing companies dominate Yellow Page advertising. And if you sit with a Yellow Page book and you go through the Yellow Page ads for plumbing, you're going to be there for an hour and a half, and most people just pick the first one that's there with the largest ad, and oh, they're open 24 hours, that's the one I'm going to take. When buried in the back, all those companies are 24-hour service, no overtime charges. So most of those companies are just competing with one another for advertising space. They're not competing for customers. So if somebody else is strong in one area, take another area. People learn different ways. Not everybody learns through the written word. Some people need to hear it. So if your competition is strong in print, try radio. There's a lot of different options available for print marketing, and a lot of people will tell you that print marketing is a dying breed. And in some respects it is. In other respects, because people say it's a dying breed, it actually sticks out more than any other type of advertising. Most people are right now big on online advertising. It's a wonderful thing. It's inexpensive, but print's still out there. And if your customers are making a lot of noise in online marketing, maybe switch up to print. Newspapers, of course, still an option, but I will tell you that newspaper advertising traditionally has been the highest grossing revenue for ad sales. Advertising space in newspapers is extremely expensive. Magazines, you know, in major magazines it's the same thing. A full-page ad is some people's budget for a full year. But there are some alternatives with respect to newspapers and magazines. You know, start small. Start in a local market. You know, your local newspapers are going to be much more cost-effective than the major city newspapers. There's some local magazines versus national magazines that might be a viable option. Don't need a full-page ad. Maybe you get a quarter-page ad, but you put it in 7 times versus putting it, you know, in a full-page ad just one time. One of the things that when you're approached by anybody in print marketing sales, they're going to talk to you about a rate card. And again, just a basic term that marketing people use. Rate cards are just documents that detail prices and various placement options and various sizes of ads. They list out the price per space and per time. They'll go by frequency as well. And of course, the more you advertise, the greater your discount. But one of the things you want to do is never buy off a rate card. Never have an advertising salesperson drop off a rate card to you and sit there and think that yeah, that's your rate and it's out of my reach. Rate cards are very, very negotiable, and sometimes you can hammer home a great 12-time rate for a quarter-page ad that really will get the job done for you at a very reasonable price. One of the other terms that I'd like you to keep in mind, going back to newspapers, is above the fold. You know, when you get a newspaper on your doorstep, you always have the best stories above the fold so that you never have to touch the newspaper just to see the glamour stories. And that term, above the fold, is actually going to come up later in the presentation with respect to online advertising. With respect to magazine advertising, you know, we talked briefly about the rate card, but where in the magazine, you know, you can buy position, and what is the best position in any magazine? And that's been debated for years. But here are just 4 points that I think are really worth the consideration with respect to buying magazine advertising. One of the options you can really take a good look at is the back of the magazine. because it's the only spot on the magazine that's visible when the magazine's closed. And most people either throw the magazine down, cover up, or cover down. So you've got exposure. When somebody's reading the magazine, if they don't bend it, you've got exposure. So the back of the magazine, that fourth cover is what they call it. It's the fourth cover, is a really good place to think about placing an ad. But again, you're looking at a full-page ad. Some ads are great in the heart of the magazine. You know, if you drop a magazine down, it automatically falls open to the center. And that spread, you don't lose margins like you do in some other ads. So some people will say midway between the magazine is a great place to put an ad. Another great place, and I firmly believe in this one, is the back of the front page. Because usually opposite that back of the front page is the table of contents. And if you're not thumbing through the magazine, you always start at the table of contents. Another good position is if a magazine is writing an editorial that's related to something that you do in your company. You can always work with an editor and you can get positioned opposite that editorial, or sometimes they'll do editorial on top of an ad. So the reader actually reads all the way down the page, and you're getting exposure there that you really wouldn't get if you were buried in the back. So one of the questions you want to ask your advertising salesperson is, yeah, are you doing an editorial? Let me see your calendar, and oh, hey, I have something that relates to that. Could we please have our ad placed next to that editorial? And they'll negotiate that with you. Really cost-effective option with respect to print, and really something that establishes goodwill, and goodwill is something we're going to talk about later in the presentation. Focus on local publications. You know, we used to have a company that we would advertise on placemats. So when you went into a restaurant, you know, and they had a placemat on your table, you always sit there and you can't help yourself. You look down and you see business card size ads on a placemat. And honestly, that works. That gets your name out there, and you would be surprised how much feedback you will get from those ads. Which brings me to my next point. Any ads you place in print, online, radio ads, you've got to tag them so you know where your leads are coming from. And that's as simple as putting a code in your ad buried at the bottom, a numerical code, some sort of promotional code that when somebody picks up the phone and calls you or emails you, ask them to reference, hey, where'd you see us? How'd you know about us? Where'd you learn about us? And they can give you that code, and maybe you reward them, hey, you know, because you knew that code, we're going to give you 5% off your order. So that's just tag your ads so you know where your leads are coming from. Church bulletin, schools, clubs, you know, back in high school we used to have a yearbook, and our yearbook used to sell ads to the local businesses. And, you know, you got the business card size ad. And for somebody that sells T-shirts or uniforms or, you know, things targeted toward clubs, that's a great place to be. That's your target audience right there. So don't discount those local publications because they bring value. And especially when you're just starting out, it's a cost-effective way to market your business. And then the other point that I wanted to bring up was direct mail, and I've put that with newsletters because there's a wonderful tool out there. Just one company that I think of off the top of my head. It's called Constant Contact. And what they do is they work with businesses that are smaller, and they help create online newsletters, email newsletters, direct marketing pieces, things of that nature that you can send at least 7 times to certain customers. And it's a great tool because you don't have to be very creative. They do all the artwork for you. You just drop in the message and go from there. So again, you're getting that repeat message. You're getting that consistent message out to the same people and driving home your point. Next thing we want to talk about is, you know, what makes for solid print marketing? You know, what do you really have to do to get a solid print marketing campaign down? You know, you're going to spend all this money and invest all this time. What do you really have to do to get results? And the first thing you really need to do is do your homework. Because what you want to achieve in any good marketing plan is that consistent message to a consistent audience over different mediums. So do your homework. Is the person who's reading a certain magazine, are they listening to a certain radio station? Are they watching a certain television show? Really try to get to know the demographics of your audience. If you realize that your sales of t-shirts are coming from people aged 18 to 25, take an active interest in where those people go, what they do, what they read, what they watch, and just that little bit amount of research is going to help you with your marketing plan. Take a look at what your competition's doing and see if they know the market and they have their finger on the pulse of the market. Take a look at that. See if you can either complement their work by, again, going into a different medium, or is it they're an event, maybe you should be at the event, take a different twist on the event when you're there. When you establish that message, when you establish what medium you want to get your message out in, hammer home the benefits to your consumer. Advertising's great, but I need to know how it benefits me. I understand that McDonald's puts out great marketing, and the reason they do is because they show me the benefits. They show me that when I'm hungry, a Big Mac is going to satisfy me. When I'm hungry, a Snickers is going to satisfy me. Make your customer understand the benefits to them of using your company versus another company. And again, I can't say it strong enough. I go back to that consistent messaging. Make sure that that message that you hammer home is the same message that you're hammering home. I'm not saying you can't change up the flavor of the ads. I'm not saying you can't promote, a sale. I'm not saying you can't promote, hey, we also do this. But keep a consistent message with your core beliefs, the person of who you are. Friendly, fast, t-shirt turnaround. That hammers home the message. And also make sure in any of the messages and ads that you put out there, people don't have to search for a way to contact you. Don't make your customers work for anything. Give it to them out in the open, easy to find, and you'd be surprised how many people put out ads in any medium and they don't have contact information. So you're left with, okay, that's a really great company. They're selling a really great product. I really want to buy that. Oh, wait, there's no way for me to contact them. Phone numbers, emails, as simple as possible to make it known how to go ahead and contact you and place their order. So we've talked about print. Let's go into radio and TV, and many small businesses feel that radio and TV is just out of their reach, that it's just too expensive and they're not even going to entertain the thought. But there are some options out there that are really cost effective. And again, if your competition isn't advertising on the radio or isn't doing TV spots, maybe that's an option for you. I would recommend looking at local radio and 15-second spots. What I used to do with 15-second spots for an equipment company that I used to work for, we would actually do what they call bookending. And bookending can work on radio as well as TV. And what that is you get a 15-second spot at the beginning of an hour or at the beginning of a commercial break. And you start that 15-second spot with a customer problem. For example, Josie has a leaky faucet. And then you have several commercials in between, or you have an hour-length show. And at the close of that set of commercials, at the close of that television show, you have your bookend spot, which is a second 15-second spot. And you solve Josie's problem. Remember Josie's leaky faucet? She called plumbing professors and got it solved. So that's what they call bookending, and you get really good discounted rates on bookending because they're only 15 seconds, but they're selling 2 of them. So what they do is on their rate cards they'll show a 15-second spot, but you're doubling up, so you're getting more frequency. So take a hard look at local radio. Take a hard look at local TV. Take a hard look at local cable TV. Local cable TV is great because you're getting national programming, which people watch, but you're getting local ads. And with cable TV, you can get specifically down to zip code. So if you, have your business in zip code 48377, you could advertise in that zip code and 2 surrounding zip codes and know where your leads are coming from. So TV is not out of the reach like some small businesses think it is. Next thing we want to talk about is web marketing, because web marketing now that's the buzz in the industry, and everybody wants to have a web presence. You need to have a strong web presence in today's marketplace. The first thing people do is when they have a question or they need information, they pick up their smartphone and they go online. So your website is extremely important, and you know there's a lot of great templated websites out there. There's a lot of companies that have basic templates that will host your website and help you with the design and layout of your website, because it is template based. And that's great, because if you're not a web designer, then you still have a professional looking website for, you know, $19.99 a month. And one of the things you want to keep in mind with respect to your website, again, don't make the customer work for information. Put your phone number, put your email address right in the header. Make sure that it's at the header and the footer of the website. Make sure that you restate your message several times throughout the copy on your website. Make sure that copy is written in real short, brief chunks of information. 3 or 4 sentences, then take a little bit of a page break, put a space in there if you will, put a graphic in there, then 3 or 4 more lines of text, then another break, then 3 or 4 more lines of text. Because that way the information is chunked out and your customers don't have to sit there and scroll down over and over and over again reading lengthy things online. It's been shown in research people do not like to read websites like that, and they're not search engine friendly. And that's one of the things that you'll want to consider with your website is it search engine friendly? And there are companies out there, people out there, consultants out there, all they focus on is search engine optimization and getting sites listed #1 on Google when somebody types in keywords. But that's a whole other webinar. The other thing that's a really viable option, of course, is Facebook and having your company up on Facebook and getting people to follow you on Facebook. But what about putting a commercial on YouTube? You know, all these phenoms that are coming out, Justin Bieber, you know, he got to start on YouTube. And what's wrong with putting up your 15-second TV ad, commercial ad, radio ad on YouTube? You know, it's completely free for you to do that. It takes 5-10 minutes and you can get that set up and you can drive traffic to that YouTube link. Maybe it's a how-to video. Maybe you, when you were taking a hard look at your company and trying to determine your marketing message, you realized that you have a process for decorating shirts that is totally unique to only your company. And you know what? Maybe show some of that on YouTube. I wouldn't give away your trade secrets, but really if you've got that unique touch, you've got that point of difference, put it on YouTube and drive people to your YouTube video. The other thing that's really effective, and it kind of goes hand in hand with newsletters, is email marketing. Now, email marketing kind of was come out of fax marketing, and you used to get companies used to get a bunch of faxes where you can take a trip to Cancun for $250, and we all got that on Monday morning, and by Tuesday we were packing our bags, and by Wednesday we realized there was no real trip for $250. Email marketing is wonderful, and you'll want to keep in mind with email marketing is when you develop your message, you want to keep it above the fold. And above the fold in email marketing refers to you don't want people to have to scroll down on their screen to see information. Look, give it to them right up front. Smack them in the face with it. Hammer home your consistent message. Show your phone number. That's the first thing they need to see when you're doing email marketing. The question then becomes, yeah, that's great, Colleen, but how do we get email addresses? Because, you know, we're just starting out and we don't have a database. Well, you can purchase a list, by all means. You can definitely purchase a list from outside companies and list vendors, and there's a minimal fee, and it's a one-time use, and you can, again, break it down by demographics such as age and zip code, and that's probably the best place to start. Until you have a good customer base put in place, purchasing a list is a viable option. It's really cost-effective, and there's some really good companies out there. Another great option for web marketing is online forums. Simply getting involved with online forums, and in fact, T-shirt forum comes to mind. That's a great venue for online advertising and getting your name out there. Again, very cost effective, and your target audience is seeing that. Again, what you want to take a look at is know your audience. You got to know where they're going online, and if they're going to certain sites, talk to people about those certain sites, but get involved with the blogging and the online forums for the web marketing. So the next thing we want to talk about is mixing it up. When we talked about this, touched on it briefly earlier, most marketing books say that it takes 7 to 12 impressions or touches for a marketing message to be remembered, possibly more in our highly connected world. So each and every day we're all bombarded with all these messages and all this advertising. What makes things stick out? And what makes it stick out is how many times you see it and how many times it hits you in the face, which is why I like to mix it up with respect to saying the message in direct mail, then saying it again on an online banner, then saying it a little bit different in a newsletter, then saying it a little bit different on a TV ad. That marketing mix and that media mix is what drives your message home and gets people to realize, oh yeah, I recognize the name of that company. Oh yeah, that's the company that does this. Oh, I know that's the company that does fast, friendly turnaround. So that's what you got to do. You got to mix it up. One method of marketing is not the way to go. You want to keep in mind that you've got to have a nice balance and mix. You want to have a good solid print headline, which will translate into a great YouTube video. Hammer home that message. Hammer home that message. Make sure that point is heard over across different mediums. Check for audience overlap. If your customers are reading one magazine and they go to a certain website, hit both places. Advertise in that magazine, advertise on that website. Next thing we want to talk about is, we've talked about a lot of traditional types of advertising. Now we want to do some out-of-the-box marketing. What can you really do? Down and dirty guerrilla marketing that will be completely different. One of the things you need to do, and this is scary to some people, you need to get out there and you need to get involved. Not everybody is a public relations person. Not everybody is anxious to get out and speak in front of people. But the more you get the face of your company out there, the more business you're going to get. So if you know the business inside and out, if you know printing t-shirts and you're a subject matter expert, there are plenty of things you can do to get involved, to volunteer to speak for local organizations, local associations. There's a lot of avenues out there. People are looking for subject matter experts. You got to get involved. Another good opportunity is co-op advertising. If you purchase your heat transfer materials from a certain company, can you call that company and say, hey, I'd like to run an ad in such and such a magazine. Can you, if I mention your products, if I show your logo, could I get some co-op advertising dollars from you? That's another good way of doing it. Maybe you're a screen printer and you know an embroiderer and you guys want to go in together into a magazine. Maybe you guys can share ad space. Hey, need it screen printed? Go here. Need it embroidered? Go here. And split the advertising that way. There again, you're establishing goodwill with indirect competition, and you're still getting your ad done. You're still driving home that message. Another good way of actually doing some out-of-the-box marketing is have an open house. Millions upon millions of dollars have been made by watching programs that show how things are made. We can sit at home and watch how candy is made, how concrete is made, how steel is made, and we just sit there and we're fascinated by it. I once worked for a concrete company and we got a new palletizer, and all this little robotic arm did was stack bags of concrete on a pallet. I kid you not, we made a video of it, put it out on YouTube, and we got over 1 million hits just by people watching this robotic arm place bags of concrete on a pallet. So if you have some clever machinery at your business, if you have something that nobody else has that's just fascinating to watch, a process of heat printing that people would be amazed by, have an open house. Have people in your shop. Have people at your place, and that's going to endear them to you, and they're going to say, oh, you know what, I remember being there. Boy, it was a good time to go there and have a cup of coffee and find out what they do and who they are. It's an easy, inexpensive way of getting people to your shop and getting them to know you and getting them involved with your company. The best thing I can tell you, the single most important thing I can tell you, is the best marketing tactic that you can ever use is word-of-mouth marketing. Because I don't know if you realize it, but if you have a good experience, you tell one person, hey, I had dinner at this one restaurant last night, and the wine was fantastic, the meal was outstanding, the service was unprecedented. And you say that to one person, but if you have a bad experience, if the food is lousy, if the wine wasn't right, if the service was poor, you tell 7 people. You will tell anybody who will listen about your bad experience, but when it's a good experience, you only have a tendency to tell one person. So word-of-mouth marketing is the most important type of marketing there is. Just a little bit of a tidbit from a book called Words of Mouth Marketing. It's a book and it's online. You can check it out. It's by Andy Cernovitz. The #1 rule with respect to word-of-mouth marketing is be interesting. Make your company interesting. Be an interesting person. Nobody talks about boring companies. Nobody talks about boring products. And nobody talks about boring advertising. Everyone can be interesting. Before you run an ad, before you launch a product, ask some people, get their thoughts on it. And trust me, if your spouse, if your significant other finds your advertising interesting, then you've got a winning marketing plan there. People will talk about interesting ads. In fact, we do it every Monday after the Super Bowl. Most people don't know who won the game, but we know what the most interesting ads were. Rule #2 with respect to word-of-mouth marketing, make people happy. Because a satisfied customer is going to tell 7 people, or I'm sorry, 1 person, but when they're not satisfied, they're going to tell 7. So you gotta strive to make the customer happy. Create amazing products, provide excellent customer service, go the extra mile, make sure your work gets done and gets people energized, excited, get them to tell a friend. You know, a good thing to do is a referral program, a loyalty program. You know, customers, that's a big trend in marketing now, but customers really do react positively to that. Rule #3 with respect to word-of-mouth marketing, earn trust and respect. And again, that's hammering home that consistent message. Make you the subject matter expert. Make your customer trust and respect you. No one talks about a company that they don't trust or don't like. They just get buried and they get lost. Earn the respect of your customers and be good to them. Talk with them. Honor their intelligence. Let them give you feedback. Fulfill their needs and stay honest. Every company can be nicer, and every one of us can work to make our company a little bit better to our customers. Rule #4, make it simple. Again, we go back to that KISS concept, keep it simple, stupid. Find a simple topic and repeat it. What can people tell a friend about you in 1 sentence? If I came to your company, would I be able to walk away and say, yes, that company, they provide friendly, fast t-shirt order turnaround. Do everything you can to make people understand in a simple way who you are and what you do. With that, I say thank you. It was nice to talk to you for 45 minutes. We have another great webinar coming up on December 6th from 2 to 3. It's regarding the new Roland BN printer. We also have an open house here at Stahl's ID Direct with Yolanda Merrill. That happens on December 13th. You can send a quick question to our friend Nicole here and she can give you more details on that. So again, thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed the webinar.